Today on Locked On Red Wings, Moritz Seider registers 4 points as the Red Wings snap their 3-game losing streak in a horribly fun game against the Winnipeg Jets.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. I am a podcast producer for the Daily J, WWJ News Radio podcast. Well, Scotty is a freelance journalist for the Detroit News, as well as the host of Locked On Tigers. And woo, that was a messy game that happened last night, Scotty. 7-5 victory over the Winnipeg Jets. Big win, gross win. I'm excited. I'm disgusted. I got so many mixed feelings on that one. And of course, I mean, I don't even know where to start, but the big thing that jumps out to me when I look at the statistics of this game is, ironically, because what was the one thing we were saying in this 3-game losing streak is that something's got to give. Either their expected goals for percentage, their 5-on-5 play was going to just fall off, or they were going to break through and score goals. Well, both of those things happened in this game. Right. Their 5-on-5 play completely fell off, and they were dominated. But they scored 7 goals on the Winnipeg Jets. And, I mean, Moritz Seider had 4 assists. There's just so much to go over with this game, Scotty, that I'm not really sure where the best place to begin is.
I don't know if I know the answer to that either. I think... Well, why don't we start with Bert, because this was first game back.
Sure. Yeah, we can start with Bert. So Bertuzzi, obviously, like you just stated, it was his first game back. He ended up registering a total of, let me check here, time on the ice for him. 17 minutes, 48 seconds. He played on the top line with Lucas Raymond and Dylan Larkin. Yeah, he was the only player on the Red Wings to register a Corsi for percentage of above 50. Like that.
He was back. Like he doesn't even care about like getting hurt again. Like
no
that's
points.
How you gotta love it. But
no points. But he was digging.
Yeah, man. I mean, he almost got hit again. Like, well, he did get hit by a shot, but it was almost in the hand again. And I mean, he's always like stomach on the ice, just like always. Like he's always jumping after a puck or trying to poke something. Or you gotta love him, but. Yeah, golly. I mean, he was definitely back and up to his usual play style. That is for sure, which is great. I mean, he looked good. I thought he had a nice, solid game, but the production kind of was everywhere around him.
Yeah.
But nice to see him back, and nice to see him just get through a game healthy while still playing the way that he usually plays, I guess.
Well, let me put it to you this way. So this is a game the Red Wings got. For context, the Red Wings were heavily outshot in this game despite winning 7-5. They registered 22 shots on Connor Hellebuyck, and the Jets had 37 shots on Ville Husso. You ended up, I think after the first period, you had the edge in shots 8-7, and then at the end of the second, it was like 21-13. From the end of the first period, honestly, after your third goal in the first period onwards, it was all Winnipeg Jets the whole way through. At the end of the game, the Winnipeg Jets had a Corsi for percentage share of 67.33% and a expected goals for of 69.51%. They had a near 70% share of the shot attempts and quality shot attempts in the game. And then if you were and that's at even strength. And if you just go shots for percentage at even strength, it was 65%. So just pure pucks that made it to the net. They had 65% share at even strength. They were the better team in this game.
Yeah.
But the Red Wings did a great job of doing one thing that we have been critical of them over this stretch, is not capitalizing on their opportunities. Now, granted, and it is expected or important to note this, but Connor Hellebuyck had a bad game. I mean, it's kind of ironic too, because it feels like everything we said yesterday, the opposite happened, in regards to like
hockey does.
Hockey does as hockey does, right? Connor Hellebuyck, .928 save percentage coming into this game. Second best goal saved above expected. in the league, according to Evolving Hockey, allowed 6 goals on 22 shots. 6 goals on 22. He had a save percentage of .750 in this
What was
game.
his goals above expected?
His
It was
goals
like
saved above
-4?
expected was -4.5.
He was like second in the league going into the game.
Ville Husso,
-4.
Ville Husso, for instance, was a -0.95. He wasn't the best, but he was the better goalie in this one.
For sure.
But I mean, offensive explosion. I mean, we both took the under. Again, just continuing the trend of everything we said yesterday. The opposite happened, which hockey does that. But we took the under, and Red Wings scored 7 goals, and production came from, and that was the really exciting, fun part of this game, is production came from everywhere on the ice and from players you want to see it. I think, did all 4 lines score a goal in this game?
Yeah.
Let me double check on that one.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, Robbie Fabry scored, and
Right.
so his line scored. Kubalik and Oscar Sundqvist scored. Their line scored. Dylan Larkin and Lucas Raymond scored, and then Jonathan Berggren scored. So all 4 offensive lines scored, and then you had goals from Jake Walman and 4. Like, it was just, that was the really strong part of this game, is the offense came from everywhere on the ice, and we talked about it. 4 goals in the last 3 games, 7 goals tonight. That's fantastic to see.
It is, yeah, and I think it started with just how amazing the pairing of Walman and Seider continues to be offensively rather. Said the complete opposite thing I was thinking. That pairing continues to be phenomenal offensively. And look, like, I guess we should probably talk about the defense more as a whole later. So we'll start with the offense, but like. Truly, Walman continues to just impress more and more and more when it comes to offensive production. And even when he's not putting up, points or anything, it's just a eye test, advanced numbers like we talk about, just all around. Like, he is such a positive asset offensively on a pretty consistent basis at this point, and meshes with Seider so well that, yeah, it's really, really, honestly, just like fun. Like, it's fun to see. It's a fun pairing. And I have a hard time believing they're going to revert back to how it was pre-pairing, defensive pairing shakeup. I think that this is probably the pairing for, dare I say, the rest of the season.
No, I said it in yesterday's episode real quick because we had to move on. But, as a pair, Walman and Seider had a Corsi for percentage of 65, while Seider and Sherratt had a Corsi for percentage of 45. Now, granted, that's only at that point 75 minutes of ice time together. So it's not a large sample size. I expect it to come back down to earth a little bit. And, in this game, nobody had a good Corsi for percentage. This is definitely a game where you have to look at the relative percentage. So basing how the players played versus their teammates rather than against the other team, because the Red Wings got caved in on shooting attempts. But they were both positive assets on the ice. At Corsi for relative, Moritz Seider 8.55, Jake Walman at 2.85. And I believe when you go to expected goals for, so you weight those, they were both positive assets as well. Moritz Seider with a 24.68 expected goals for relative, and Jake Walman with a 3.93. So Moritz Seider had an even better game when you weight the shot attempts that he had from where they were on the ice. And it showed. He had 4 assists in this game. He heard the haters online saying that stupid graphic. And listen, I'm not going to sit here and say Moritz Seider is the same Moritz Seider we've seen last year. I think there's a little bit of a sophomore slump going on, but I definitely also think that there's the Sherratt factor. I don't think they were a good pair with one another. And there's that graphic going around, and this is not a shot at Dom whatsoever, because Dom's graphics are cool. They're very well researched. But I don't like the comparison of him and Jack Hughes. I know they're the same draft class, but they're very different. Well, one's literally a center, one's a defenseman. And I think that's the point. Like, would you rather have the stay-at-home defenseman, or would you have the goal scorer? But Jack Hughes has 4 seasons in the NHL. He's on his 4th season. Seider's on his 2nd. So I don't like that comparison. And it started this whole discourse. And again, this isn't at Dom whatsoever. His stuff's really good. I just don't like that comparison. But it started this whole discourse online about whether or not, Moritz Seider's regressing. And so I wanted to throw up the fact that with Walman, he's returning to form. And this game furthered that. 4 points in this game, and he and Walman continue to have chemistry. Walman scored the first goal again for the Red Wings on a fantastic play at the blue line and a nice shot from in the high slot. Like, their line just meshes a lot better.
Shots too.
Yeah. I mean, their line just meshes so much better. I was struggling to say it.
Clearly. No, I completely agree though. That and the cool thing about that pairing is it's a pairing that can be somewhat versatile, and like it doesn't have to be on the ice necessarily with the top line forwards. They can kind of mix and match it, and it's still effective.
Yeah, absolutely. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation. We got some more good things to get to, but then we have plenty of bad things. And Derek Lalonde agrees, if you look at his post-game press conference. But first, I got to talk to you guys today about BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from pro football to college bowl season to basketball and World Cup. They've got it all at BetOnline.net. If you love sports podcasts, you can even find those at BetOnline as well. They're the fastest and easiest way to get your betting info. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Red Wings won 7-5, broke their 3-game losing streak, broke the Winnipeg Jets 5-game winning streak. The Red Wings were due. I'm not going to say they deserved the win, deserved to win. I don't know if they necessarily earned the win. That sounds such a negative name. I hate the fact that I'm saying that, but the Red Wings, let's face it, kind of got caved in this game. They were just able to outscore their problems, and that's what they did.
But I mean, look, we don't get to have it both ways. Like, we had talked about how the offense has been prolifically not capitalizing and not been able to outscore their problems, and how the offense has been terrible. And we just put up 7 on arguably the leader for Vezina. Like, I mean, you know what I mean? I mean,
yeah, Ullmark and Sorkin are going to be right. I thought those are your top 3 this year. Yeah.
So it's weird. I don't think anyone expected to be here, but we'll gladly take it. A dub's a dub at the end of the day, first and foremost. But it's also important to just like when we were talking about how we thought the game was going to be played. Obviously, we already talked about how none of that came true. But just looking at the last 4 or 5 games and how little offense there's been, it's nice to at least, it's just nice to win some. It's nice to win one every once in a while.
Yeah, that's basically what it comes down to. It's just nice to win one every once in a while. I mean, we talk about it.
2023, by the way.
It is, yeah. And we talk about it. You mentioned it there. We can't have it both ways. And it's great to see the offensive explosion and the team capitalizing on opportunities when they happen. Robbie Fabry got another goal. Fantastic tip on a shot from the point. And who got that assist? Gustav Lindstrom. That was a shot from Gustav Lindstrom. Yeah. Joe Veleno got the secondary on that. Fantastic redirection, capitalizing on chances. Dylan Larkin's goal, 5-on-3. We talk so much about how the special team sucks.
Such a beauty.
And that was and it was honestly, like you said it when we were talking pre-show, that it was kind of a chaotic power play up until that point. But then Moritz Seider got the puck at the blue line and slowed it down.
And it was honestly, it had started before that the shot and the pass into the slot too. Like, that was a moment where the puck had almost escaped the zone like 2, maybe even 3 times. Yeah. And Seider just continuously saved it right before. And then on the final one, I mean, or maybe it was the second to last, maybe it was the possession. It's all one possession, but the set before they scored, he even just went up into the slot himself because they were just defending the pass so heavily. And he was like, screw it, if you're just going to give me the slot, I'll just rip one. And, it was rebounded and brought back around and whatever. And then it led to a goal. But, I mean, just all in all, really, really impressive power play possession as a whole. I mean, it was chaotic, but I know it's 5-on-3 and like the expectation is to score on 5-on-3. But like, again, we've been talking about so much how the special teams has just been struggling. I don't even care. Like, I'm glad they did, right? That's the expectation. They did it. So Props. I'm glad we're not talking about how the power play stunk again and how we couldn't even convert on a 5-on-3. And that's in large part due to Seider. Like
the timing of that goal was huge too. I mean, you were up 3-0, 3-1 in the first, scored another goal early in the second to go up 4-1. You let them score back-to-back goals. Sam Gagner got one of those goals. Love to see Gags back here. But now
nice little video, little ovation.
And he played 2 seasons here and got a welcome back video. That's how much this organization loved Sam Gagner. I love that man. I knew he didn't fit, but this is why I'm not a general manager, because I absolutely would have re-signed him. I loved him so much. It's why I'm not a GM.
Brian's team is in dead last, but he likes all of his players.
I would have been Ken Holland. Like, remember when he re-signed Dan Cleary?
I vividly, yes, I remember where I was when I found out he re-signed Dan Cleary. Yes.
I mean, I would have been Ken Holland. I understand him, which is why I would have been a bad general manager. Anyways, the timing of that Dylan Larkin power play goal, it was crucial because at this point, the Winnipeg Jets had completely taken over even strength play. Yeah. They were just hammering you. In segment 3, we'll talk about how you look lost in the defensive zone again, and that continues to be a huge problem. But you get a power play, then they take another dumb penalty to make you go on a 5-on-3. You need a goal here to extend your lead to 5-3, and then hopefully, of course, they allowed a goal in the first 30 seconds of the third period. Carry that momentum into period 3. The timing of that goal, like everything was looking like the Red Wings were going to blow this game, but that goal gave them breathing room going into the second intermission, and they were able to continue to do in the third period. Was they score, we respond. They score, we respond. You win 7-5. That goal couldn't have come at a better time. And Moritz Seider gets so much credit for that goal because of the fact, obviously Dylan Larkin finished it and it was a nice shot. But Moritz Seider, like you said earlier, he just skated into the slot and took the shot because they're giving him so much space. He did that on this. And it was deceptive because he had already taken that shot. He skated into the zone, drew the defender to him to block the shot, freeing up the passing lane to Dylan Larkin, and he no look pass to Dylan Larkin, who just ripped it home. Like, it's such a little thing that he does, but like that was incredibly intentional. You can tell the wheels were turning where he goes, I'm going to skate this in to the high slot to draw the defender away from D-Boss and give him the pass. Little things like that is
such a beauty too.
Yeah, little things like that's going to what makes Moritz Seider special.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that also, I mean, the shot by Larkin, man,
easy. Kubalik got a goal too. Oscar Sundqvist got a goal. Sundqvist had 2 points. Copp had 2 points. Raymond had 2 points. I mean,
can we talk about Copp?
Yeah, go for it.
I mean, I thought he looked great, and he was easily one of the best players on the ice in the first period. I think that slowly kind of trailed off just because of how poor the 5-on-5 play was. But I did think that he looked pretty solid offensively, and I know that a lot of people have I don't want to say he's controversial necessarily, but there's always some arguments happening about Copp and his value and how much we're paying him and how what his production's at and whatnot. So to see him go out there and look really good offensively was definitely a plus. And honestly, that's something that this isn't like the first game either. That's why I wanted to talk about him specifically, because over the weekend, I don't think really anybody looked good. But if you remove the weekend, 2 or 3 games before last weekend plus tonight, I think he's looked pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean, he ended up with just on the positive end of the Corsi 4 relative to his teammates. And that's because just like the entire team, strong first period, completely fall off.
Yeah.
But, he was at the end still a positive impact relative to his teammates. There was no one on this team that was a positive impact Corsi-wise or expected goals for besides Gustav Lindstrom and Tyler Bertuzzi. I don't know how Lindstrom ended up being like, it's weird. He's one of those guys like you're not really paying attention to on the ice. And then there he is. Hasn't had a great season, but according to the advanced analytics, he had a good game. Good for Gustav Lindstrom. Hopefully this starts a heater for him. But yeah, I mean, I liked Copp in the first period, especially. I mean, what was it? The goal to Sundqvist? Whose goal was he? I have
no, it wasn't the Sundqvist one.
Janssen Berggren's goal.
Yeah, it was Berggren.
It was that no look behind the back pass from behind the net where Berggren was breaking back door. It just found its way through. It was a great pass. Janssen Berggren, another goal.
Also, Berggren,
7th goal of the season.
Man, beautiful shot for sure. But I mean, he's just one of those dudes that even when he's not like filling the back of the net, like you notice him on the ice always. Like he really he's one of those players where he doesn't blend in. Like he doesn't just float out there, man. Like you see him and you notice him anytime he's on the ice. It's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, he's got 14 points in 25 games played so far this season, which is pretty good, pretty strong numbers for a rookie. I mean, he's not Lucas Raymond last year. Like Lucas Raymond came in and lit it up, but Lucas Raymond also started immediately on the top line. Not saying Bergen would have the same numbers Raymond did, but those are strong numbers. That's over a half point per game for a rookie. And his shooting percentage, this is the crazy part, his shooting percentage is 15.8. That's a really strong
Let it
shooting
fly,
percentage.
baby. Rip it some more.
Well, it's because his goals happen not because he shoots the puck a lot, but because he gets himself into a spot.
Positioning and skating is just.
He puts himself in a spot where his opportunities are high danger. And so he scores on a lot of his shots. That's why his shooting percentage is 15, nearly 16%. I mean, that's an elite level shooting percentage.
For sure.
So, I mean, love it. I love Jonathan Berggren.
Of course.
Let's see. Anyone else you want to give props to before we move on to, we talked about the fun part and we got to talk about
Larkin, like we should, not just kind of blow past that.
Yeah. There's so much with this game.
Yeah, there really is. I think that's probably it. Yeah, I think that's it. We can get into the not great.
Oh, Raymond had 3 points in this. I thought I only had 2. A goal and 2 assists.
He had the empty netter, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Man. Good stuff. All right. When we come back in segment 3, we'll talk about the ugly. We talked about the good. We talked about the bad a little bit. And we're going to talk about the ugly in segment 3. And I'm not talking about Scotty. So stay tuned. Locked On Red Wings. Segment 3, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Sorry, buddy.
Honestly, I respect the heck out of it.
I know it was a low blow. I went there. It was a low blow.
No, honestly, look, I need to be humbled sometimes. I can't just keep getting away with the ball jokes with no repercussions.
There we go.
You gotta rebuttal every once in a while. Keep me on my toes.
So Derek Lalonde in his post-game press conference said this was the worst game the Red Wings played all season, despite the fact that they won 7-5.
They scored 7 goals in a victory, and he got up there and immediately was like, "This was the worst game of the season."
But I understand where he's coming from.
Yeah,
I actually don't agree with him
their
because
teeth kicked in on even strength, legitimately.
They allowed another power play goal as well, which doesn't help that number. You almost scored 2. I mean,
I actually thought
1, but.
Yeah, the penalty kill was weird. I actually thought the penalty kill didn't look bad. Like, the goal against obviously wasn't great, but as a whole throughout the entire game, I didn't think the PK was necessarily a bad unit. They had a couple of clutch moments there, but yeah. Regardless, I mean, there was certainly this was not a 7-5. I don't think there's too many like really pretty 7-5 victories in the history of hockey, to be honest.
No, and it was, and I talked about it at the top of the show. I mean, when you look at shot attempt percentage, shot percentage, high danger shot percentage, like quality shot percentage, I mean, everything is heavily leaning towards the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, when we talk about these numbers. We mentioned, oh my God, I got to pull up the heat map. I just looked at it.
Oh, goodness.
When it's woo. But you talk about how you want to be 50% or above, and like the more above 50%, the better. And if you had a game where you had 55% share, that means you had a dominant performance. And the Red Wings had a couple of those and just weren't rewarded on the score sheet. Well, the Winnipeg Jets had a 67% share of the shot attempts at even strength, a 65% share of just the shots on net at even strength. High danger was 66%, scoring chances 66%, and at quality shot attempts 69%. Like, it wasn't like they didn't dominate the Red Wings. They caved the Red Wings in.
Yeah,
they put the Red Wings' teeth on the curb and then stomped on their head.
Goodness,
that's how bad it was. But the Red Wings.
I'm with you.
Because it was I agree. I understand where Lalonde's coming from. I don't agree that it's the worst performance they've had all season because they inevitably won. But defensively, by far was their worst performance I've seen probably this season. Because in the defensive zone, it was just they were basically playing the box at all times. They were playing chase. The Jets were playing keep away. The Jets were just circling the Red Wings defensive zone nonstop, and the Red Wings couldn't get the puck off their stick. And then they were getting shot after shot after shot. I never felt when they scored that first goal, when the Red Wings went up 3-0 and the Winnipeg Jets scored a goal to go 3-1, I was like, oh, this is bad. Like I could start to see the momentum swing, and they carried that, but the Red Wings were just good enough to keep extending that lead every time the Jets pulled within one.
Yeah, well, yes, like you said, they very much just continued to outscore their problems, and the problems were significant on the defensive end. I mean, that's just how the not only the flow of the game went, but just the entire 60. I mean, it wasn't. We've talked about games in the past, and been like, oh, like there were some good moments, there were some bad moments, or oh, like this, they really got it together and looked really strong for one period and just couldn't hold it on for 60. Like, no, this was a game where pretty much for the entire 60 minutes, the defensive, what's the word I'm trying to think of? The performance was just not good. And I mean, golly, that should come with a warning. You shouldn't be able to look at this heat map without a parental advisory sticker on it.
And this is all situations, so this includes power plays and penalty kills. But it's just so every single time you look at one of these maps on Natural Stat Trick after a game, you notice the attempts at the bottom will always be a little bit different in the numbers. It'll be based on how many shots were taken in this game and where they were at. So the high end of the spectrum in this game, so the darkest part of the map is 5.8 or more attempts. And you'll notice that dark blue is right out in front of the Red Wings net. So that means in the Red Wings slot, the Winnipeg Jets had 5+ attempts, 4 of which, if you include the one that happens in the circle, resulted in a goal. And then if you look at the rest of the map, the Winnipeg Jets were shooting the puck from everywhere on the map. Incredible. I mean, obviously, you look at the Red Wings, and they're not nearly as many opportunities. They only had 22 shots in this game. 23, actually, I think was the final total. And they ended up with 7 goals, one of which being an empty netter. So you see that, and you're like, oh, that's good. But you just look at how – this is why I made that really dark analogy about putting, the curb stop. Because look at this. 5.5+ attempts inside your own slot area, and just everywhere. Like, almost the entire defensive zone is full of shot attempts. That's a cave-in, guys.
Yeah, it is. Well, I mean, look at usually when we pull up these heat maps, like the dark blue, like opponent where they're getting all their shots up from is usually either just like right in front of the net or, on a bad defensive game, which we've had plenty of. Maybe it'll go to the low slot or even the high slot. And this is like, I mean, that's terrifying. That's like that was one of the biggest dark blue circles in a heat map.
The max attempts part would be like 3, not 5.
Right.
It's just that's rough. I'm actually really curious now. Like, I'm gonna look at hockey. I haven't done hockey stat cards, I think, all season. I think that's what it's called. Here we go. I'm really curious to see what the Red Wings hockey stat card looks like. So I'm having a feeling it's going to be like all the offense on the right side and then all the defense on the left side of 0. Right. Like, it's just going to be really rough. This is the impact cards. That's what I want. Here we go.
It really was, though. I mean, while you find it, like, this was a defense. It was so ridiculous because wow, there you go. It was so ridiculous because it wasn't even like the normal, like it's only on the rush or whatever. Like, they had some sets, they had some successful like possessions. It was just I don't even know, one of those things that you had to see to like understand. Like, that was just preposterous. And defensively, like you kind of alluded to earlier, it was not just a bad performance per se. I mean, it was legitimately like didn't look like they knew how to defend possessions, like at times. And then that's, followed up with a nice offensive possession and a goal. Like it was just a very much a roller coaster of emotions.
I mean, yeah, and we didn't even talk about Ben Sherratt because we just didn't want to pile on. He had the worst Corsi 4 and Corsi 4 relative on the team, and it was a solid like -25. And you can see here on the game scorecard, which is a compilation of natural stat trick data, game scored from Dom, and obviously the stat card from Hockey Stat Cards, a whole compilation, and it's just, man, that's rough. But you can see Seider was the second best. Defense was a downside for Seider on this game. Offense and production was obviously a huge plus. Raymond, huge plus. Sonny. Walman actually is a little bit down here. He breaks out a little, pretty much even between the offense and the defense. But what a game. I don't know what else to say besides what a game. I mean, defensively horrid, offensively a blast. Just an absolute gun show going on.
It was
at
fun to
LGA.
watch. I'll tell you that.
It was fun, but it was also like really
Stressful.
scary. Yeah, stressful.
Stressful but fun. That's my motto.
But I'm at a loss. I've run out of things, man.
I think that's everything we wanted to cover. Yeah.
This game.
Husso, I mean, definitely not a great game, but also had some pretty timely, like good saves.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, his goal saved above expected in this was -0.95. He let in one soft goal, I thought, which is probably what accounts for the -0.95. Other than that, I mean, when I wasn't really on him, he faced 37 shots in this game. Yeah. So he gave you an opportunity to win, and you did. So that's all you can ask. And hopefully Nedeljkovic can come back up and give him a little bit of relief because Nedeljkovic has been killing it in Grand Rapids so far. But
absolutely.
Also, I saw on the Valley Sports broadcast that Zadina faced a setback and is now week to week, so it might take a little bit longer for him to come back. But this further kicks the can down the road of the
inevitable that soon will be.
Yeah, but for all we know, he could be the one who gets sent down. I don't know. He could be a really if he makes the waivers, and this could be a good conversation for tomorrow. But if he makes waivers, I think he gets picked up. I think he gets picked up probably with a stronger chance than Vrana would. Just because of his contract, and a rebuilding team could look at him as like a reclamation project, what the Red Wings did with Robbie Fabry.
I agree.
So that could be a really good conversation for tomorrow. But yeah, we'll be back. Any final thoughts? Gotta always get that in there.
We ball.
All right. We will be back tomorrow with a game preview, and then maybe that Philip Zadina conversation, maybe that Red Savage conversation we keep teasing. Well, it'll be something. So stay tuned.
And it'll be great.
To Lockdown Red Wings. Same time, same place.
BetOnline.
Every day.
Every day.